Look, here's the deal. She defrauded a mortgage company. She said it was a primary residence. It was not. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that she did not put down when she lied on a mortgage app saying that it was another primary residence. The fact that the Biden administration didn't catch her or didn't question it just demonstrates once again how inept the Biden administration was. But that does not mean that the president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, does not have cause to remove her.
That was Florida GOP gubernatorial candidate and Congressman Byron Donalds on our show yesterday on fired Fed Governor Lisa Cook. Let's welcome back to the show the CEO of American Majorities, Ned Ryun. Ned, what do you think? Should Fed Chair Powell suspend her? Should she recuse herself from that Fed rate cut decision at the FOMC coming up in less than 2 weeks? Because critics are saying that if she can't honestly fill out a simple mortgage application, she's got no business voting on whether or not to cut or raise the interest rates.
I think in honesty and ethics, she should recuse herself. But I would remind people, just listening to Hakeem Jeffries and Abby Lowell's statements about this weaponization of the DOJ, I just want to take people back to 2019 and Paul Manafort's case, who was, of course, the chairman of Trump's first presidential campaign. He was indicted on 16 charges of mortgage fraud. And we were told at the time this was a very serious crime. It undermined New York's sovereign interests and really started to undermine the residential mortgage market, and that he should experience the full consequences of his crimes, even up to 25 years in jail. CNN told us this was serious, New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC. And now these same people are claiming that somehow this is weaponization of the legal system when it comes to Lisa Cook or Adam Schiff or Letitia James mortgage fraud cases, when in fact that's not the case, Liz. The fact of the matter is the left would use no one is above the law as a thin veneer for their political lawfare, whereas the Trump administration truly believes that no one is above the law, whether a U.S. senator or a Federal Reserve governor. And I think one of the real problems that we have in this country today is this growing chasm between reality and the D.C. elites. As you pointed out, an average American, if they were caught in mortgage fraud, could face up to 30 years in jail and $1 million in fines. And the D.C. elite somehow think they are above it, that the rules and the laws only apply to the dirty little peasants. You cannot have a healthy society or trust in institutions if there is not equal application of the law for everyone, regardless of their station.
Yeah, I mean, mortgage fraud violates multiple federal laws. We checked, hundreds of people have been prosecuted for mortgage fraud, dating back to 2007 and going forward. Lisa Cook's attorney threw the Biden White House under the bus. The Biden White House nominated Lisa Cook. They said the Biden team and even the U.S. Senate had ample opportunity to vet Lisa Cook's, quote, inconsistencies and contradictions, but they did not. So are they basically admitting that Cook did commit fraud? I mean, she listed 3 properties as her primary residences.
Yeah, no, I believe it's a house in Georgia, Michigan, and I think one in Massachusetts. And that's pretty weak sauce coming from Abby Lowell to say it's somehow the Biden White House or the Senate's problem that they actually confirmed her. The fact of the matter is it does not take away from those facts in which we feel pretty strongly. I think there's real merit to this case, Liz. We'll see how it plays out. But they are issuing subpoenas from both of the grand juries in Georgia and Michigan in regards to this case. I think there's real merit to this case. And so they can make all the excuses they want to. But if you're doing this multiple times in fraudulent mortgage applications, not really a mistake. There's a pattern of behavior here, and I'm very curious to see where this all ends. But I seriously hope there are consequences for Lisa Cook, Adam Schiff, and Letitia James in regards to mortgage fraud, so they can experience the full consequences of breaking the law, if in fact they did, which I'm starting to suspect there is real proof they did.
Thank you so much, Ned Ryun. It's good to see you.